The classroom went silent the moment the doors slid open. Every alien cadet turned, their whispers freezing mid-air as the new arrival stepped inside. A human boy. Tall, lean, expression calm, wearing the simplest training uniform in the entire academy. Aiden Marsh. He didn't try to look intimidating. He didn't try to look brave. He simply walked to the back row and sat down as if nothing in the galaxy could bother him. But the aliens stared anyway. "That's one of them, right?" someone hissed. "Yes, the Death World species. Unpredictable. Dangerous. Fragile-looking but wrong." Before the thick cloud of unease could settle, the instructor entered. Professor Reshok, 2 meters tall, 4 crystalline eyes, and a metallic jaw that clicked when he spoke. A respected veteran across 5 sectors. He strode to the center platform and activated the hologram. "Today's lesson," he announced, voice vibrating through the chamber, "is apex predator escape theory." Even the bravest species in the academy flinched. A 6-legged, obsidian-scaled monster appeared above the holodeus, its fangs dripping with venom, its eyes glowing with ancient hunger. The Drethorian apex hunter. Half the class recoiled. No one dared to breathe. This creature had wiped out colonies, tore through armored squads, left no survivors except rumors. "If this stands before you," Reshok continued, "your survival probability is 0.2%. Yet even in the face of inevitability, there exist theoretical pathways to survival. You must learn them." He paused. "Now, tell me, how do you escape an apex predator?" Silence. Not a single claw, tentacle, or appendage lifted. Then, slowly, like a fuse being lit, one human hand rose. Gasps. Startled clicks. A few outright shouts. The human raised his hand. He thinks he knows. What arrogance. But Aiden didn't look proud or excited. He looked, matter-of-fact, almost bored, like this question was easier than basic math. Reshok's eyes blinked in all directions. "Very well, human. Speak." Aiden said calmly, "You don't escape it." A shock ran through the room. Instant, electric. Several cadets hissed, others threw their hands up or glared. But Aiden wasn't done. "You don't run from an apex predator," he continued. "You make it believe chasing you is a mistake." Reshok leaned forward, intrigued in spite of himself. "And how, exactly, does a fragile species like yours accomplish that?" Aiden folded his hands on the desk. "By changing the predator's priorities. We don't flee. We don't freeze. We force the predator to recalculate risk. Humans survive by convincing the hunter that we are not worth the effort, or worse, that we are a threat." Murmurs rippled across the room. "You're claiming a human could escape a Drethorian," a reptilian cadet snapped incredulously. Aiden glanced at the hologram. "No," he answered. "Not escape." "Then what?" Aiden's voice hardened, but not with bravado. With experience. "We turned the pursuit around." Reshok stared. "Are you implying you have faced something comparable?" Aiden did not look away. More than once. The room felt like it was shrinking. Their fear was no longer just for the monster in the hologram, but for the quiet human sitting among them. "But how?" Reshok asked again. "What does a human have that other species do not?" Aiden slowly exhaled. His eyes were steady, unblinking. "In a crisis, other species think." He paused. "Humans decide." The words hung in the air, heavy, sharp, undeniable. Something shifted in the atmosphere. The aliens weren't looking at Aiden with suspicion anymore. They were looking at him like someone looking at a knife they didn't know was in the room. Reshok clicked his metallic jaw thoughtfully. Intriguing. Very intriguing. He had taught at the Galactic Military Academy for 40 years. He had trained soldiers who became legends. But today, he wasn't sure if he was teaching the human cadet or learning from him. None of them yet knew that this lesson was only the beginning. That soon, Aiden would be tested in ways none of them imagined. That an apex predator would come. And the academy would learn what true apex really meant. Because humans weren't prey. Not anymore. Not ever. The ground shuddered like something ancient had woken beneath it. Moss fell from the trees. Stone cracked. Even the simulation air tasted heavier, as if the world itself held its breath. Zirath stepped backward. Human, that sound, it's not part of a standard simulation. Aiden said nothing. His posture had changed, shoulders squared, stance grounded, no longer relaxed. He wasn't in training mode anymore. He was in survival mode. The forest split open as a massive shadow pushed through the fog. At first it was only a silhouette, then the details emerged, each one worse than the last. A Drathorian prime hunter. Larger. Older. Intelligent. The apex predator of apex predators. Even Zirath, built like a mountain wrapped in armor, whispered, This is impossible. The Academy doesn't use primes. They don't, Aiden replied quietly. Unless they are not the ones controlling the simulation anymore. The prime's eyes glowed a deep, ancient red. It had noticed them. Zirath growled, We run. We regroup. We. Aiden shook his head. You can't outrun a prime. Not in a straight line. Not in a forest. Not anywhere. The prime stepped forward, and the entire jungle bent to its will. Mist recoiled. Birds fled. Even the trees seemed to lean away. Zirath's claws trembled. Then what do we do? Aiden didn't answer immediately. He watched the creature the way a strategist observes a battlefield, not the way prey watches a hunter. Finally he said, You survive a prime the same way you survive the universe. Zirath frowned. How is that? You make it think you're not worth the effort, until you are. The monster roared. The world exploded into motion. Aiden grabbed Zirath's arm and pulled him sideways just as a prime slammed down, its talons carving a crater into the earth where the two had stood. Zirath staggered after him, panting. How did you know it would strike there? It tracks breath, and yours is loud. Zirath nearly choked on indignation. You insolent. Save it, Aiden snapped, scanning the environment. We need high ground, broken line of sight, and an obstacle it can't predict. They sprinted through the ruins. The prime crashed behind them, tearing through stone like paper. Aiden led them into a narrow ravine where beams of ancient architecture leaned inward, forming jagged, broken channels. The prime slowed. It sensed a trap. Zirath whispered, Human. It's not charging. It's thinking. That's what makes primes dangerous, Aiden muttered. They don't hunt with instinct. They hunt with judgment. The prime lowered itself, sniffing the air. Its gaze locked onto Aiden, not Zirath. It recognized the true threat. Zirath hissed, It hunts you? Why? Aiden didn't look away. Because it knows what I am. The prime lunged again. Aiden ran, straight toward the most unstable section of the ruins. Pillars leaning like drunken giants, cracked stone ready to collapse. Zirath shouted behind him, You will die there. That's the idea, Aiden whispered. He slid onto a fallen beam as the prime crashed through, ripping apart the corridor. Dust plumed like smoke. Aiden raced to the center of the narrowing chamber, skidding to a halt beneath a massive stone arch, its foundation fractured in a dozen places. He turned just as the prime appeared, stalking slowly, savoring the kill. Aiden raised his hands, not in surrender, but in calculation. Come on, he murmured. Just one more step. The prime leapt. Aiden dove forward, rolled, and struck the cracked foundation stone with everything he had, elbow, shoulder, weight. The arch groaned. The prime crashed through, and the ancient structure collapsed. Stone thundered downward like a falling mountain. Pillars snapped. The arch shattered. The prime vanished under tons of debris. The earth trembled, then fell silent. Aiden lay on his back, chest heaving, staring into drifting dust. Zirath stumbled toward him, limping. You brought down a prime hunter with a ruin. Aiden exhaled shakily. Sometimes the environment is your weapon. Zirath knelt beside him. Human, you are either the bravest being I have ever met, or the most insane. Aiden finally smiled, a small, tired smile. Humans usually blur that line. The simulation flickered. The jungle dissolved. The ruins faded. The dome returned. Instructor Reshok stood outside the safety barrier, all four eyes wide, metallic jaw hanging slightly open. He had seen everything. Every move. Every decision. Every impossibility. He spoke slowly, almost reverently. "Cadet Aiden Marsh, your performance today was not a demonstration." Aiden stood up, steady but drained. "Then what was it, so?" Reshok stepped closer to the glass. "It was a warning." The other cadets gathered, staring at Aiden with a new mixture of awe and fear. Reshok's voice lowered. "You asked earlier how to escape an apex predator." He gestured at Aiden. "The answer is that a true apex predator escapes you." The dome fell silent. And for the first time in the Academy's long history, every species realized what the galaxy had tried to ignore. Humans were not prey. Humans were not weak. Humans were something far more terrifying. Because when the universe hunted humans, humans hunted back. Chapter 4 Image Prompt. Massive ancient alien ruins collapsing on giant apex predator. Human boy standing exhausted but victorious. Huge armored alien warrior watching in awe, debris, and dust in cinematic lighting. Ultra-detailed sci-fi final showdown scene. The simulation creature paced in a semicircle, claws dragging through the moss. Its 6 eyes locked on Aiden as if trying to understand what he was. Zirath Klon had fought beasts 3 times this size in real battles, yet he had never, not once, seen a creature hesitate because a smaller being stood still. Aiden didn't flinch, didn't blink, didn't even shift his weight. The monster gave a low, tremoring growl. Zirath whispered, "Human, what are you doing? Attack. Run. Command me." Aiden's eyes didn't leave the predator. Running triggers chase instincts. Attacking without knowledge of its pattern gets us killed. So we're going with option 3. Zirath frowned. "There's no option THR. "There is if you're human," Aiden murmured. The predator lunged. Aiden moved, but not backward. He stepped into its blind angle, sliding under the arc of its claws with terrifying precision. Its talon missed his head by centimeters. As the creature skidded on the moss, Aiden traced his fingers lightly across its hind leg. Not an attack. A test. The monster shrieked, wheels of muscle twisting as it turned. Zirath expected the human to be shredded. Instead, Aiden rolled to his feet and said, "Weak point located." Zirath's jaw dropped. "You touched it. With your bare hand." Aiden pointed to the creature's right hind leg. "See the slight resistance? Armor plating is thinner on the inside joint. They rely on speed, not defense. You discovered that by brushing it. That's how humans learned to survive predators for hundreds of thousands of years," Aiden said quietly. "We learned how things move, how they breathe, where they break." Zirath suddenly realized something chilling. The human wasn't lucky. He was trained. The monster charged again. Zirath leapt forward with a roar, claws out, but Aiden shouted, "No. Wrong angle." Too late. The creature swatted the huge Dravalan aside like he weighed nothing. Zirath slammed into a tree, armored plates cracking. He tried to rise, but pain shot through his ribs. "Aiden," he growled. "It will kill you next." Aiden didn't answer. He took a slow breath, grounding himself as the predator prowled toward him. Its breath steamed, its muscles rippling. Aiden spoke in a low voice only the creature could hear. "You're fast. But you're predictable." The creature screamed and lunged. Aiden sprinted, but not away. He ran straight toward the moss-covered ruins ahead, boots silent, movements precise. The moment he crossed the stone threshold, the environment shifted. The simulation adapted. Trees bent inward. Mist thickened. The jungle darkened. Zirath panicked. "Human, you triggered a level escalation." Aiden kept running. "Good. I needed tighter terrain." The monster thundered after him, but as it crossed into the ruins, its speed dropped. The floor was uneven stone. The pillars forced narrow angles. Aiden's territory now. He stopped in a collapsed hallway, intentionally cornering himself. Zirath shouted in horror, "You trapped yourself." Aiden didn't move. The creature crawled inside, its massive skull scraping the ceiling. It bared its teeth, saliva sizzling on stone. Aiden whispered, "Let's finish this." The predator lunged. Aiden didn't dodge. He sidestepped in the final half-second, pushing off a cracked pillar. The beast's claws tore through stone, destabilizing the support. Aiden jumped, kicking off the opposite wall, flipping over the beast's back. The weakened pillar groaned and collapsed onto the monster's exposed hind joint. The creature shrieked, its massive body twisting in agony. It tried to stand, but Aiden was already there, sliding beneath its torso, driving his elbow into the thinner joint plating. A precise, surgical strike. Not brute strength. Not alien biology. Pure human technique. The monster collapsed. The jungle went silent. Aiden exhaled once, calmly, like this wasn't the most terrifying creature the Academy had to offer. Xerath stared in disbelief. You defeated it. Alone. Without weapons. Aiden walked back to him, offering a hand. We did it. You kept it distracted when I needed time. Xerath accepted the hand reluctantly, rising with effort. You speak truth, but make no mistake, human. That was no normal simulation beast. Aiden nodded. I know. Xerath narrowed his eyes. Then why didn't you fear it? Aiden looked toward the forest, expression cold. Because I've seen worse. A deep rumble echoed through the simulation, something larger, heavier, older. Xerath tensed. What is that sound? Aiden's jaw tightened. That, he whispered, is the reason the simulation changed. We weren't being tested on how to escape a predator. The ground shook. We being tested on how to survive one. The Academy's combat dome was a cathedral of metal and light, vast, echoing, and designed for Fae. Every cadet filed in quietly, boots clicking on the alloy floor. Today's session wasn't a lecture. It was a simulation. And everyone knew simulations in this academy were never safe. Aiden Marsh walked with the rest of the group, hands in his pockets, shoulders relaxed. In contrast, the alien cadets around him buzzed with tension. Some whispered, some clicked nervously, some kept glancing at him like he carried a bomb in his pocket. After yesterday's class, rumors had exploded. The human faced apex-level threats. His survived things we can't even run from. No way. His lying. Then why was the instructor listening like that? The dome darkened. Instructor Rishak stepped forward, metal jaw glinting. Today, he announced, you will demonstrate your understanding of predator avoidance principles. You will be placed inside an adaptive environment. It will shift based on your decisions. You will work in pairs. Groans erupted immediately. Pairs meant teamwork. Teamwork meant vulnerability. No one trusted each other, especially not the human. Rishak gestured to the holo display, showing 40 cadet names flickering into pairings. Aiden's name appeared beside one. Xerath Klon. The entire dome stiffened. Xerath, a towering, clawed, armored warrior species known as Dravelans. They prided themselves on strength, discipline, and absolute dominance. They hated weakness. They hated outsiders. And they especially hated humans. The massive, horned alien stomped toward Aiden. Do not slow me down, Earth creature. His voice was like rocks grinding. Aiden just nodded. Sure. Xerath snarled, frustrated by the human's calm. Most beings cowed around Dravelans. Aiden didn't even blink. The simulation gates opened, and Pez stepped into the shimmering blue field. In a flash, the world transformed. Dense jungle. Fog rolling like smoke. Alien birds shrieking overhead. Metallic vines coiling around ancient stone. The air vibrated with something unseen. Something hunting. Xerath cracked his knuckles. We move. I lead. You follow. Aiden didn't respond. He simply looked around, observing shadows, airflow, humidity. His steps were silent on the moss, almost too silent. Minutes passed. Tension thickened. The forest was too quiet. Then, a distant crack of branches. Xerath spun. Predator, east side. He readied his claws and charged forward recklessly. Aiden grabbed his arm. Not roughly, not aggressively. Just enough to halt him. Xerath whirled with a snarl. Remove your hand, human, or... That isn't east. Rage rippled across the Dravelan's face. Do not presume to. Listen, Aiden interrupted. Xerath froze. The forest wasn't cracking from the east. It was echoing. The real sound came from the south, delayed by the canyon walls. Aiden dropped his voice to a whisper. Whatever is following us knows sound bounce patterns. It's trying to lure us into the wrong direction. Zirath's eyes widened, not with fear, but with reluctant realization. You deciphered this in seconds. Aiden scanned the trees. It's circling, testing us. Zirath's nostrils fled. We fight. You die, Aiden corrected softly. Before Zirath could answer, a shape streaked across the canopy. Fast, too fast. A shadow with claws like razors. The jungle exploded with motion. Zirath jumped back, bracing himself. It's hunting us. Aiden stepped forward instead of back. He closed his eyes for a brief second, listening, feeling vibrations underfoot, the direction of disturbed leaves, the rhythm of predatory breath. Then he whispered, "It's not hunting us. It's hunting you." Zirath stumbled. What? Why? Because you ran first. You made yourself the bigger threat. Aiden opened his eyes. Predators target the stronger prey when they are confident. They want to prove dominance. Zirath had no words. Branches shattered again, this time closer. The creature lunged from the shadows. Its jaws gaped open. And Aiden didn't run. He took one step forward, eyes blazing with a kind of calm that made even the simulation hesitate. "Look at me," he whispered. The predator froze. Zirath's heart hammered. "What are you doing?" Aiden didn't answer. He simply held the beast's gaze, unflinching, unwavering, like he'd stared down monsters far worse than this. The simulation beast recoiled, confused, its instincts short-circuited. Aiden's voice dropped to a razor-sharp whisper. "You're not my hunter." The jungle went silent. Zirath could only stare at the human beside him, and wonder what kind of creature he really was.